Here's my review for Prey, 2017 Prey, not the other Prey. I guess they were going to make a sequel to that and it went away. Anyway, to the review. Let's start off with story. First thing that I like about this game is the credit intro. Normally people don't really say that, unless it's like the Star Wars crawl. But here, what was neat is they put it as like lettering on buildings to be like, oh, that's the Chrysler building or something like that. And here it was like, here's the Prey's building, here's the developer's building, here's the publisher's building. It's very subtle, and I really like it. It's kind of cool, it's a little cinematic, and I almost missed it at first, and then when I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's kind of neat. I do like that. Then following this intro bit, they kind of have like walking simulator stuff, so it's like you just walk, you hit a button, it's like, I know how to play first-person shooters, I know how to play video games. Look at me, that's all I do. So it's like, come on, let's just get on with it. And then it hit me. They hooked you. They hook you with a really good like twist that happens really early in the game, and immediately following that, I was just interested. I wanted to get those answers. I wanted to figure out all the mysteries, and I like how they kind of played with modern day stuff where you usually get those tutorial sections and stuff like that. Look at Assassin's Creed. Every single game, they're like, well, just in case you forgot how this works, this is how you run up a building, and these are swords. Like, Prey kind of did that, but they did it for story purposes, which you don't really see at first. And then it hooked you, and I really like that hook. Now, after the cool intro hook, there's just, the story kind of just, they give you like little sprinklings of it throughout the whole game, and then pretty much towards the end, you get like a lot of stuff that deals with the narrative. So, expect it to be kind of heavy in the beginning, a little bit throughout, and then a bunch at the end. While it is good, you definitely get some of those cool answers that you are looking for, and it will be fun to see what people think of this game, because I can totally understand that if people aren't crazy about the ending. I wasn't crazy about it. I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was good or bad or anything like that. I did see a bunch of the revelations coming, but you may not, so that's going to be dependent on each person's experience. But overall, it is pretty good and gives you a nice excuse to go exploring across this space station. The one small thing that I would say about the narrative is I just wish there was some type of climactic fight that happened at the end. That didn't happen. It kind of ends on like a story high, and that's about it. So moving on to gameplay. I played this game for about 50 hours. That's a lot of content there, and this isn't even like a JRPG. But what I like is the game's like, here's the main objective. You can go over here, do the main quest line if you want. What I would do is I would say, I'm not going there. I'm gonna go all the way over here and go to areas that you might not necessarily hit until later in the game. And I do like this because it makes you feel like you're getting away with something. You know, like a child stealing a cookie. You're now in an area that you're not really supposed to be in. You're not equipped for it, but that also makes it a lot of fun. And it gives that awesome sense of exploration because you're going into somewhere new. You want to be able to have the railings off so you can just go in and be like, oh, well, what's over here? I don't know what's over there. Maybe I'll check over here. I'll check that room. Maybe I'll check this room. Anywhere you think you can explore in the game, I'd say definitely give it a try because there's definitely really good items and crafting items and weapons that you can find scattered throughout the space station. So there's lots of really good progression in the game. You have several skill trees that you can play with where you can like up your stealth, you can up your usage of being able to critical hit with guns. You can get these awesome powers. And what's funny is I went through the game and they opted to be able to say, hey, you can get these powers that are used by some of the aliens, or you don't have to. And I want to opt to not trying it because I'd like to play it again and kind of really fully use the powers. Granted, it took 50 hours, and here I'm talking about it, but I really specialized in hacking, in my shooty shoots, and my stealth. So someone else who played a different style will probably have a different experience than me, and I'd love to hear about that in the comments below. If you played the game a bit differently than me, I didn't use any of the powers in the game. So definitely let me know in the comments below. None of the alien powers. I did use the awesome, really cool slow-mo power that you get. Really gives you a nice edge on the enemy. You kind of feel like Max Payne just a little bit, but no dodge rolling, where you can really like unload into them with your shotgun. And yes, you get a shotgun, and the shotgun is awesome. Very nice kabams and booms, and when you hit the aliens with them, they go. There's a light crafting system in the game. I really like this because it really feeds into you wanting to explore the environment and not just go towards that main objective. Because if you find more supplies, then that can feed into you. Now you have a wealth of really good guns and ammo, or you have some of the really awesome items that you can use in the games. Or better yet, you can create some more skill points for yourself and get some more of those skills, particularly early on, so you kind of have an edge on the enemy. Now, this is one of the few situations where I really like that the main character you're playing as is a silent protagonist. So no talkies from them, you pretty much just watch everything when you're in the cutscenes. Normally I don't like this because it kind of just feels like, for me, a disconnect, especially when you have a very cinematic focused game and your guy isn't talking. Like, I understand they're talking to you, but it's not like I can then talk to the character and we can have a conversation kind of a thing. So I don't normally like that stuff. But in certain games like Dead Space, I feel like it fits, especially to really capture that sense of isolation. Here, it also does the same thing with Prey. The sense of isolation on the space station is fantastic. It really goes into, like I said, the awesome exploration with the game. You feel alone on this place. So when you encounter other aliens and other hostile enemies, it's an intense situation because you don't really know what to do. There's no backup going on. And I like that for the most part, the soundtrack is relatively mute with some ambient noise. It does really sell that sense of isolation for probably about the first 20 hours or so of the game. Granted, I was slow and just because I wanted to see everything I could in the game. But the game does give you some really good illusions of choice in terms of how you do your exploration. Now, what I mean by that is, I'll just take, for example, I had a door and I wanted to get through it because I wanted to see what was on the other side. Maybe there were some treasures or something over there, or candy corn. I wanted something. So you could either go look at a computer and possibly be able to get the passcode to get through the door, or you can hack it, or you can go to the room that's adjacent to this room and use the glue gun and create a bridge. The glue gun, you basically shoot these gobs out and they create these like solidified bases there that you can then jump on. So you can create your own stairways, you can create your own bridges, you can freeze enemies. I really like that with freezing enemies. You just go up to them and whack them with a wrench. You do that a lot in the beginning until you start getting an arsenal. But back to the sense of choice, I do like that there was a lot of that stuff there. In some situations, there was a door I couldn't unlock and I needed a passcode for it, but I saw through the window behind it, I could then, if I was in the room, I would have to hit the button and the door would then unlock. But I couldn't hit it, there was stuff blocking me on the window and I couldn't get through it. But you have a foam toy, you have a crossbow that shoots these foam darts. And what's neat is you can use that thing and hit sometimes some of the manual locks to unlock doors. I like that it has that stuff in there. It's really cool. It kind of feels like extra sneaky where you're trying to get into an area and you couldn't get into it and you have to use a child's toy to get in there. Small stuff like that, it is a lot of fun. So many of my first 20 or 30 hours really were made up of going to these new environments, didn't really know what was going on, trying to find some really cool stuff, and then using the tools that I had to be able to figure out how to get by. Because very early on in the game, I didn't have hacking yet. While that's something that I got into later in the game, I was really using that foam dart gun and the glue gun to kind of get through areas, or a bit of just searching for the passcodes. I like that they have that stuff in there because especially when you get through an area and you're like, well, maybe I can create a stairway. And you go up there and you find a shotgun for the first time and now you have a shotgun. That sense of satisfaction is way better than a narrative creating being like, here's the shotgun level. While that part is cool, it's neat to be able to go off on your own and then find these items for yourself. You kind of get like a sense of gaming accomplishment by doing this, and Prey does a pretty good job with that. The enemies you fight in the game are also a lot of fun. There are a lot of these really visually awesome looking aliens, and you can see behind me with like all the green screenness of all the awesome aliens. But I loved fighting them. There's one particular enemy that you run into a lot where they can pretty much shapeshift into any inanimate object in the environment. This is particularly awesome and creates some funny jump scares because sometimes a cup on a desk, you're just walking by and the thing just like jumps right at you and like attacks your face or whatever. And a lot of this stuff will happen. What's funny is I was playing the game a lot, had to take a break for a couple days, went back to it, forgot about these enemies for a little bit, and I ran to a room and like 2 of them came at me. And I just got that shotgun out and I took care of them. They didn't see the light of day. But I like that they have these enemies in here. They have a lot of different variations on the different type of aliens. Well, I spent most of the game using the pistol and the shotgun. You do also get this awesome recycler grenade. What I like about this is if you don't have enough strength, like you didn't build enough points into strength to be able to lift heavy objects, if there's something in your way, you can throw this thing at it. It'll suck all the objects in, kind of like a little black hole, and spit out a bunch of materials for you to be able to go use and craft your own items. What's nice is you can also use this on enemies, and it's really funny when you have a bunch of them coming at you and you hit them with a black hole cannon and they just go away. And there's also really awesome instances with the exploration, not just within the space station, but outside of the space station and you get some really good zero-G moments there. I like that stuff. Got a little nauseous. Overall, I really enjoyed my time with the game, and I will say there are a few negatives, a couple in particular that got really annoying. One that you'll notice right out of the gate are the long load times. I played this on the PS4, and if you go into a new area, it can take like 30 seconds or a little bit more. I know 30 seconds is not the end of the world, but like it's long enough that it'll get annoying, but only if you're traversing back and forth between different areas. What was nice is for probably about 80% of my game, I was going into one area, so I would load up a new area and I'd let the load screen go and I'd go make a sandwich and eat it, come back, it's done. But what's nice is you're in this new area that you just loaded for probably a couple hours, and then you would have to go face a load screen again in like another hour or so. So that didn't bother me as much. It was only towards the end of the game, which required you to go back to many different areas and do these quick things there. So it was like load for 30 seconds, do like a 5-minute thing. Load for another 30 seconds, do another 5-minute thing. And there's a lot of this towards the end of the game. That's where it started to get aggravating and annoying, where I'm like, okay, before, yeah, the load screens take a while, but it's a great opportunity for me to go take a piss. But now I don't need to pee that frequently, so it's like, come on, let's get up with the loading here. Now, overall, the performance in the game is pretty good, but I did have continuous minor frame rate issues where like sometimes it would hitch up a little bit here and there. Not really terrible, but it is something that is continuous, so I can understand someone getting really annoyed with that. And something that I just found really interesting is there's a hacking minigame that you can do. What's funny is that, so there's like 4 levels for this. 1's just super easy. 2 is actually substantially harder than 1, but 3 is a lot easier than 2, and 4 is easier than 2. I don't get this. It's like they don't give you enough time for 2, but they give you too much time for 3 and 4. It just doesn't make any sense to me, but it was something I noticed, because every time I went to a hacking thing, I'm like, oh, I hope it's a hard one, and then it'd be 2, and I'd hate it, and I'd break my control. My last negative is, the only thing is, I really wish that it ended with a climactic boss fight. I think having that as your ending, especially for like a 50-hour adventure or however long you take to beat the game, I feel like ending it on a gameplay high would have been great. It does end on, say, a narrative high, depending on if you like the narrative, but I feel like having a really awesome big epic confrontation would have been great, because they definitely allude to it in parts of the narrative where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna fight something that's huge, and then I'm like, no, I'm not. And it just didn't happen, which is all right. Maybe they can polish that out in the sequel, and it doesn't ruin the overall experience. That's the other thing I want to say too, is if you're really not into the narrative, or you are into the narrative, you don't particularly like the ending, that's not going to kill your awesome journey if you really enjoy exploring. And that's the type of game this is for. For the person who likes to take their time, have like a moderately paced game, not super slow, like in a bad way, but one where you want to kind of grab all the nook and crannies, get all the audio logs, get all the crafting stuff, and really explore the space station and enjoy it. There's a lot of content here to enjoy, especially for a game that isn't like, you know, is big JR, you know, it's not like Final Fantasy or anything like that. You get a lot of good stuff here, and overall, I would say that it is definitely worth playing and worth buying. And I hope you check it out, and if you have played it, let me know in the comments below. So I'd like to say thank you very much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, and if you'd like to see more content like this, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time.